Hey, what's going on, guys? So the other day I was watching YouTube, like I do a lot, and I came across a video for Healthy Junk Food, and they were making a giant Arby's curly fry.
J. Pierce. What's up?
What's up, Julia Goose, the Goo Gang?
Goo goo gaga. We're about to tackle something that's never been done. It hasn't been done, right?
I don't think anybody would have done this.
How hard can it be to make giant curly fries?
But it's not that easy.
We've been working on this recipe for 365 days.
Binging with Babish, I saw his gnocchi recipe not too long ago, so why not just make it out of gnocchi?
Alright folks, so today we're conquering one of my all-time greatest fears and making us some gnocchi.
Okay, so it took JP and Julia 365 days to develop their recipe, and it's one of Babish's greatest fears, and I think both of them have more experience than me, maybe. I mean, I've never made gnocchi, and I honestly have never made curly fries. So, I don't know. How hard could it be? How bad will it turn out? I don't know, guys. Let's check it out. Okay guys, we're going to get started here by laying out some Yukon Gold potatoes onto a baking sheet and put those in an oven at 375 degrees for about an hour. Once those are fully cooked, we're going to check with a paring knife just to make sure that they are cooked all the way through. And while they're still hot, we're going to use a dish towel to peel off these skins from the outside. Careful, because these things are steaming. Once we have removed the skins from the potatoes, we're going to set those aside and let them cool down to about room temperature. I'm going to use a cheese grater because I don't have a potato eraser. I tried the small holes on the side, but that wasn't working. So I've moved over to the cheese grating side. And then after getting all these grated, I had to measure out my flour. So we were using, for every 500 grams of potatoes, we're using 100 grams of flour. So I had a bit more than 500 grams of potatoes, so I'm using extra flour. And you want to use 1 egg to the 500 grams of potato or 100 grams of flour, but since I had extra, I needed to use 2 egg yolks instead of just 1. I'm going to get this mixed up. I've already mixed up the potatoes and the flour there, and then I'm going to use the bench scraper to mix this in. I didn't really like how this was working on the cookie sheet, so I added this to a bowl and began to mix it and get everything incorporated in the bowl before turning it out onto a lightly floured working surface where I would begin to knead this like a regular bread dough. We're going to season here with some salt and pepper and then turn it out onto our lightly floured working surface. Now in Babish's video, he said it'd take about 90 seconds, a minute and a half, 2 minutes to get this kneaded until the potato became smooth, just like a dough, but mine never really did. I don't know if it's because I didn't have small enough bits of potato. Like a ricer is really going to get this into a fine potato, but I still had some chunks of potato, so mine stayed really sticky, really tacky. I had to continue to add flour to this, and I ended up working it for several minutes to try to get the tackiness to go away, but it never really did. So I'm going to divide this up into 5 sections and then begin to roll this out into about 3/4 of an inch ropes of gnocchi. And so I added more flour to this, and I'm going to roll it here. It really works well having the work surface, that bit of flour and potato that's stuck to the countertop there. It allowed the gnocchi to roll really easily. On the areas of the countertop where there is no flour, like there on the right hand side of your screen, it just slid. It wouldn't roll, so I ended up kind of smushing that side. So I have to flip the gnocchi rope around so I can roll the other side out and get it even, because if there was no potato and flour stuck to the countertop, it just wouldn't roll. It continued to slide. So I get it turned around here and work the other side. And it's about the length that I want it to be and the thickness for these giant curly fries. So to get the curl, I'm using a wooden dowel. This is also, I believe, like a 3/4 inch wood dowel that I wrap these around. And then I just set this aside while I continue to work the other gnocchi dough balls into more ropes, because I ended up doing 5 of these all together. It's at this point that I really wish I had had 5 dowels so that I could have popped these in the freezer and allowed them to be separated like that. But because I only had 1 wood dowel, I had to put these into like little spirals and on the cookie sheet to put into the freezer. If I could have put these in the freezer wrapped around that dowel and really gotten it to firm up in that shape, the frying process of this would have been a whole lot easier. So if you do try to make giant curly fries, make sure you have a wood dowel for each one that you want to make. So once I was done rolling out and shaping each of these curly fries, I put them on the cookie sheet and placed them in the freezer so that they could firm up. I'm going to get started here with my dredge. I've got the egg white that I didn't use, and I'm going to use salt, pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, and cayenne for the seasoning of this dredge, and then about a quarter cup or half cup of flour. And then I'm also going to add some water to this, so it's going to be a wet batter that we're going to put the curly fries into to give them that signature seasoning and color. My paprika is a really dark, I believe it's a Hungarian paprika, so it didn't have that orange color like JP and Julia's over on Healthy Junk Food. Mine ended up with like a really deep red, so it really messed with the color on that. So get a regular paprika, I guess, instead of a deep dark red Hungarian paprika, because that really messed with the color. But I've got the dry ingredients here, adding it into the egg whites, and I'm also going to add water until I get to the consistency I want. I got out my Babish tiny whisk and started mixing that up, but the thickness of it was a little too much for tiny whisk here, so I'm going to have to switch over to the big whisk. I will leave links down in the show notes below for the recipe for the gnocchi. Babish actually did 3 different styles of gnocchi, so it's a great video to check out if you ever want to make gnocchi. And I'll also leave the link to HellthyJunkFoods giant curly fry video. It's funny just watching them and their little challenge and challenging each other. They've got a great sense of humor, so go check out their channel as well. So I'm going to get this dipped into the flour seasoning that I've got there and put it into the fryer. I was able to do 2 of these at a time because it's not quite as giant as JP and Julia's, so I was able to fry up 2 of these at a time, which was convenient. And they had to fry for about 15 minutes until they were fully cooked. Well, in retrospect, guys, I wish I would have only made 1 of these like JP and Julia did over at Healthy Junk Food. I didn't need 5 of them. They ended up turning out looking like giant fried poop emojis. My 3-year-old, I'm like, hey, you want to try it? He's like, no, Dad, it looks like poop. I don't want it. And so we ended up giving them to the chickens. So nothing really goes to waste. Chickens give us eggs. We give the chickens food, whatever scraps we have. But the inside of this was a great texture. I wish I would have only made 1 and put the rest of the dough into the freezer so I could have had gnocchi on hand and tried working with it in some other ways. So if you guys enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. Go check out Binging with Babish and Healthy Junk Food. Alright guys, so there you have it. I ended up with like giant poop emoji curly fries. If you've made it this far, man, I appreciate every one of you watching these videos and coming along. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Want to give a shout out to JP and Julie over at Healthy Junk Food and to Andrew Ray over at Binging with Babish. You guys are an inspiration to me. I mean, I've been cooking for a lot of years. Started out watching Emeril Lagasse on the Food Network, and you guys have inspired me to start my own YouTube channel, just sharing the things that I've learned in cooking. And I've had a lot of people that have shown me how to cook over the years, but thank you guys for continuing making the content you guys make, inspiring people to cook, and just great entertainment that you guys make. But I appreciate every one of you. You guys take care. We'll see you next week.